Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balance with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon out of the Sunset Hour studios in Hollywood, California, where Scandal and Murder, She Wrote are filmed. But there's no scandal here on Universal Broadcasting Radio TV network, and then syndicated every Thursday at 7, Saturday at 6 on my syndicated CNBC News Radio channel, KCAA, on AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and everywhere that iHeartRadio is. And because there is no scandal, there's also no gossip and no K-words, no Kardashian talk at all, because I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. And that's why I have these shows. If you've missed any of my past fabulous guests, you can go on YouTube for Marianne from Gilligan's Island, Marianne Williamson, Tony Tennille, lots of wonderful past best-selling authors and actors and actresses who shed their limelight on areas like Fran Drescher, reducing our risk of cancer, and you can get those and subscribe for free on my YouTube. And it is the Marvin Gaye time of the month. That's right. It's the last week of the month, and it is sexual healing with Dr. Marissa. I started this series 2 years ago. Actually, 4 years ago, when I heard the statistic that up to 80% of women fake orgasms, and I became determined to make pleasure a G-rated topic. So if you're listening to this live and you have kids that are under the age of, let's say, 14, you might want to listen to this later. But I do want us to get comfortable talking about pleasure and how we can feel good about our bodies and good about sex and good about intimacy. And so that's why I have this series. I've been focused on a wide range of topics within sexual healing, from condom research and safe sex apps to 11 different kinds of orgasms, to online dating tips, and my men's panel, matchmakers and infertility experts, to ending female genital mutilation. So, and if you missed last week's great episode with a panel of millennials talking about hookup culture in college and high school, then go to my YouTube and you'll find that particular under the playlist of sexual healing. And today I am happy to welcome to Sexual Healing Jonathan Robinson, who is the best-selling author of 12 books and has been a frequent guest on Oprah, and now the Asian Oprah, on CNN. And his work has been translated into 47 different languages. He speaks regularly to Fortune 500 companies on leadership and communication and has been featured in USA Today and Newsweek magazine. Jonathan is known for providing people with immediately useful tools presented in an entertaining manner. His latest book is called More Love, Less Conflict. Please welcome to the studio, Jonathan Robinson. Hello, Jonathan.
Here.
So I'm going to start and put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of the elephant in the room. When your publicist, Jackie Lappin, who's also a friend of mine, you had me at your teaser about Trump, even though I'm not supposed to use the T word on the show as well, Trump causing more marital strife in the U.S. and conflict in the bedroom. And I thought, okay, we got to have you on and let's talk about is it even possible to have extremely diverse views on something as volatile as number 43, because I know I've heard on dating apps, not by experience, but I've heard that there's a lot of guys and girls who will say if you're a Trump supporter, swipe left. If you're not a Trump supporter, if you hate Trump, swipe left. So tell me, is it even possible to come to the middle of the bed in this particular area?
Well, it is, but it takes a certain amount of skill. 1 in 3 couples in America, their mate is of a different political party.
One
so
in
that
3.
does create problems nowadays.
Yes. And so the divorce rate there is 9 out of 10. No, that would be my guess.
Well, it's pretty high, but what's happening in our culture and what's happening in marriages is really a lack of understanding. And we need to be able to understand each other if we're going to get back to a place of love. And that's really what I try to teach people, whether they're partners of a different political party or a different way of looking at the world. And luckily, there's simple ways of doing that.
Well, okay, and I definitely want to hear them, but fundamentally, politics and religion are two things that traditionally are not, you just cannot understand. Like, I mean, if you've ever gotten into a discussion or a friendly debate, which I think is an oxymoron when it comes to politics or religion, aren't there some things that you just, why try so hard? Is it, you can be with someone, isn't it better to choose someone or be with someone where it's not so difficult to try to make it work?
Yeah, well, in some ways it is, but, more important than finding somebody who has all the same ideas as you is to find somebody that you can talk to and work things out with.
Okay.
And, the first time I was on the Oprah Show, we talked about religion, and it ended up being, rather conflictual, to say the least. So Oprah said it was the most intense show she'd ever done.
Really? Now, with you talking about religion and her, or the couple that you were working with?
What she was doing was she was asking people in the studio audience questions about spiritual things. And everybody, of course, disagreed with each other, as they do in politics.
Right.
But, I think whether you're talking about our nation or couples, we need to get over this blame, shame, complain approach and get back to a place of how do we understand and connect with each other? Because ultimately, we all want to feel intimate and connected and get back to a place of love.
Okay, you have me there.
Okay, good.
You're preaching to the choir. I'm just playing with you a bit, but it is okay. Give me some tools. Well, how would you say? So you have a couple who, up to this point, could sort of be okay. One being a Republican, one being Democrat. Although Trump is a whole new ball game, and now they're like, I can't respect someone who does and does not respect the president. Okay. So let's say they came to you. What would you say?
I'd say try to understand why your partner feels the way they do and ask them questions that help you to understand their reality. You may not agree with it, but if you understand them, then they will give you the same thing back to you. In fact, I had an interesting experience with Trump. I was on the Geraldo Show many years ago with him. And we went from him telling me to screw you to him shaking my hands and apologizing.
Really?
In 1 minute. I'll tell you the whole story.
Yes, please do.
What was that?
Please do.
Okay. He was getting his makeup done. And he was putting down the makeup artist quite a bit.
Surprise.
And I thought that was unusual. I was sitting next to him because I was getting my makeup done. And finally, he said, I'm out of here. You're horrible. And I'm sitting right there. And he says, what are you doing here? And I'm saying, I've gained my makeup done. I'm waiting to get my makeup done. And he says, well, you shouldn't even bother. She's horrible. And I was kind of put off by what he was saying. So I said, well, you didn't give her much to work with.
Good for you. Woohoo!
So he said,
Jonathan, the sound engineer, really liked that one. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm glad you said it. And then he said,
Well, he said, screw you, but in a slightly more vulgar term.
oh, okay. Started
And I
with an F.
said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry if you felt put down by that. She must have also felt very put down, and that probably didn't feel very good. And he said, yeah, I guess you're right about that. And I said, and I'm sure it must be frustrating when you're dealing with people who aren't very competent. So I acknowledge his reality.
Mm-hmm. Even though you didn't agree with it.
Even though I didn't agree with that, I acknowledged that was his reality.
Okay.
And he said, well, thanks for saying that. I appreciate it. And then he put out his hand and we shook hands.
Okay.
So, he's a rough and tumble New York guy.
Mm-hmm.
And even with him, I was able to understand him and come back to a place of connecting. Even though I'm not a Donald Trump supporter,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to, repair that relationship, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
going from screw you to shaking hands in under a minute by having a couple of simple tools that helped.
Okay. And those are lying through your teeth. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's so difficult to be balanced on this topic and bipartisan, and it's so difficult.
Yeah.
But okay, so the tools were, let me see if I can guess. The one you're saying, acknowledge where they're coming from, even if you don't agree with it. And then the second is,
that's really all you need.
Oh,
if
that's
you can
it. Okay.
get good at that tool, people will feel so much better. I mean, basically, that's what Oprah does.
Okay.
One day I asked Oprah on her show, how did you go from being poor African-American, living in a house and never even had a toilet growing up, to the most loved person on the planet? How'd you do that?
Yeah.
And she gave me a great answer. She said, it's all about showing that you care and showing that you understand.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't have those skills, so they don't go from the bottom to the top.
Mm-hmm.
But she was able to use those skills to transform her life and even the life of millions of people.
Yeah, many, many others. Do you know that I was introduced to her as the Asian Oprah?
Really?
Yeah. Do you know who Michael Bernard Beckwith is?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so he dubbed me the Asian Oprah, and he's a good friend of Oprah's. And so when she visited Agape, he said, and pointed to me, that's the one they call the Asian Oprah. And she looked at me, smiled, looked down at my pants, and said, nice pants. And didn't call her lawyer. And then it took everything for me not to say, do you want them? Like, I'll take them off right now.
Yeah, right.
But, so how long ago were you on her show?
Well, I was on her show 3 times. The last time was about 8 years ago.
Okay. And that was because of the first book that you put out?
Yeah, as a friend of mine said, I tend to write books in the genre of books that Oprah likes.
Good.
Which I recommend that genre.
Yeah. Which is communication, relationships.
Well, really, it's books that have methods that can be done in under a minute that are still very profound.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of lazy and she's very busy. So if she can find methods that can be done in under a minute, she'll use them.
Okay. Got it. So, all right. So what else is a common, okay, let me put another moose on the table. So when couples come to me and ask for life balance coaching, one of my first questions is, when was the last time you had sex? Because that, to me, that's a barometer of how well the communication is going. How do you, what's your take on that?
Well, I think that's one barometer. I think another barometer is, you bring up a difficult subject and you see if they blame, complain, and shame each other, or if they have another way of working it out, because blame never works. Never once when I've talked to my wife and told her how wrong she was, did she respond by saying, oh yeah, now I get it. Yeah, thanks for showing me the errors of my ways. That's never happened, So I think couples have to learn how to communicate outside of blame And if they're doing that, then I clearly see that something's not working.
Right, right. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I get to talk to today on Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa, it is a 3-time Oprah guest, 1-time Asian Oprah guest, Jonathan Robinson, who is the best-selling author of another new book, More Love, Less Conflict. And we're talking about how to make things right and ensure that you have a lot of pleasure in the bedroom when you're a couple and can get over misunderstandings or missed understandings. Let's go back for a second to the makeup artist, because you may have gotten a handshake from number 43, but what was the reaction from the makeup artist through this whole thing? You know, she was
just standing there, probably fuming. After Trump left, I said, it must be really hard dealing with people like that and really hurtful. And she said, exactly.
Okay.
So I said, I'm really sorry that you had to deal with that. And I just want you to know that, he was probably having a bad day. And she said, thank you so much for saying that. People, little gestures like that show people that you care. And there's very little care in the world. So if you can do that, you stand out like a saint.
Right, right. Now, do you ever do that as manipulation versus you're honest about your care? Because that would, be something a cynic would say. Yeah.
It's an interesting question. And to tell you the truth, sometimes I have.
Okay. Thanks for being honest.
As Oprah says, there's really 2 types of manipulation: ineffective manipulation and effective manipulation, in which you both get what you want.
Okay. So then the end justifies the dishonesty or the not full honesty.
Yeah. That if you're trying to connect, sometimes I might use a method that I know helps lead to connection.
Okay. Even if you're not necessarily buying into the content of the connection.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a skill set, right?
Yeah. And you can use it in different ways, but it also helps me to actually, when I try to feel into people's feelings, it actually helps me to feel them.
Okay. So blame, when you're working with couples and they do start blaming, well, if you hadn't have said that, or if you hadn't have done that, or you promised that, what's the best diffusing technique if you are in the middle of it yourself? So let's say the couple doesn't have your expertise right there. So you're in a relationship and that starts. What's your advice?
I'll give 2 very simple techniques for your viewers and
great.
listeners. One is to fill out this sentence, and that is to say, one way I see that I contributed to this is.
Okay.
And then you say something that you see that you contributed. Because when you start to take responsibility is contagious, and your partner will likely do the same. And that's the end of blame. So that's one method.
Okay.
Another method is to say, I really want to understand why you feel this way. And if your partner feels understood by you, they will then want to try to understand you as well. So little things like that can make a big difference and keep you away from that downward spiral of blame and complaint and shame.
Yeah, I guess it sounds like it goes back to the old adage of, would you rather be right or happy, right? Because I mean, I have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old, and sometimes I just know that I'm right, and it's the principle of it, and I don't understand why they can't see that principle. But in the end of the day, is this the hill that I want to die on? But it's really not easy to swallow, that the principle. What do I say to myself besides, is this a hill you want to die on? Like, they're really cute, they're your children, you can't kill them. Like, what else can I say?
Well, I like that question that you started to ask. I'd make it a little bit more complete. Would I rather be right and make them and me miserable?
Okay. Or
would I rather listen, understand them, and get back to a place of love?
Okay. So that's a modified right or happy? Because whenever someone asks me that question, I say both. You know, I don't want to have to choose. I want to be right and I want to be happy, right? And when I'm right, I'm usually happy. But it doesn't work well when it comes to two. So what you're saying is you almost have to always compromise. You almost always have to, even when you really don't think you've done anything wrong. You know, when you say you have to own your side of the street or take responsibility, even when you really don't think you've done anything wrong, the only way to get out of blame is to own it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that's an effective way, and that you only have to do it for a few seconds.
Okay, that makes it a little bit better. All right.
Because once a person's, if I want you to listen to me, the best thing I can do is understand and listen and give empathy to you for a few seconds.
Okay.
And that is a manipulation in some way.
Yeah,
but then that opens a door for you really getting what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
So even if all I'm interested in is in being right, the best way I can get you to acknowledge me being right is for me to give you a little bit so that you'll at least listen to me.
Okay. Yeah, that is sheer manipulation. But if it works in the highest order, or the common vision or goal is harmonious intimacy, right? Which is I think what your goal is most of the time. Now is conflict good though? A certain amount of conflict good for a relationship?
Well, in every relationship, there's going to be some disagreements. So I think that that's good. And working that out actually helps to build trust. What's not good is when couples just blame, complain, yell, and scream at each other. I think that that's always hurtful.
Yeah.
My wife and I have not had an argument for over 5 years. And we use just a simple method that requires 2 words that ended all our arguments, whereas we used to argue, 20 years ago a lot. So I think
what are
conflict
the 2 words?
is inevitable. Arguments are not.
Right. So then the 2 words, it's not I love you, that's 3. So what are the 2 words? Hold on.
The 2 words are red light.
Ah.
And what that means is we've agreed that if either person says that,
to back off,
starting to escalate, and that we have to take 2 minutes to hold hands and be quiet and calm down.
Oh, like it.
Once the 2 minutes are done, we're more rational and we can continue to have a rational working things out over some conflict.
Oh, that'd be hard though. Can you imagine being really ticked off and having to hold hands with somebody? It's making my skin crawl.
It's only for 2 minutes.
The longest 2 minutes of my life. Well, you're obviously better at it than I am. That's why I'm happily divorced and single. But anyways, so how long have you been married?
22 years.
Wow. And kids?
2 four-legged kids.
2 four-legged kids. Oh, okay.
Yes, we have 2 dogs.
All right. I would think with a track record like that, you'd make it to the bedroom. I'm just teasing. I'm sorry. I'm a journalist.
Luckily,
I'm gonna pry.
I do have a very simple technique for improving your pleasure and love life.
Oh, good.
It's a communication method. I think the best foreplay is communication.
Okay. And
this is that you say 3 things that you love that your partner does in the bedroom and 3 things that you don't care for.
Huh. And
a lot of times our partners don't know what we really like and don't like.
And there's no hurt feelings. There's no, I'm going to take my toys and go home if you don't like that. No.
I have people actually do it as a written exercise, and they just hand it to the person. There's no discussion. I like this. I don't like this.
Okay. And people are good with that?
Yeah.
Seems like it. All right. I'll have to find something to try it on. But anyways, give me, let's see, is there any difference in these kinds of tools with same-sex partners as to heterosexual partners? Any difference?
Not really. The same, luckily human beings are the same everywhere. Gravity works the same everywhere. You don't have to know if they're in California or New York to know how gravity works. And since all people want to feel understood, all people want to have empathy, it works with partners, it works with kids, it works with teens, it works with bosses, it works with coworkers. So it's really very similar whether you're gay or straight as well.
Okay.
Although some couples, you can speak a little bit differently to them depending upon whether they are very masculine energy or feminine energy, because feminine energy tends to be more feeling oriented and masculine tends to be more results oriented.
So then the modification would be if you had two more feminine energy partners together, it would be a little less empathy.
No, two feminine energy partners together would be, let's really understand each other's feelings.
Okay. So delve into that pit. You can tell which energy I'm more of. That's like a nightmare. I'm sorry. So then culturally, are there differences culturally? And you're American, I'm American, even though I look Swedish. But I do know that in, my traditional Asian culture, that kind of dialogue is really, especially last generation, that's not normal. So do you give different kinds of advice for different cultures?
I do. And I talk about that a little bit in the More Love, Less Conflict book.
Okay.
But certain things are universal. Gravity is universal. Everybody likes it when you show your care and your understanding of them. Whereas certain things, like in Asian cultures, they tend to be a little bit more squeamish about the level of American
touchy-feely
about certain things.
Okay, so openness about sex and pleasure and intimacy. Yeah. Okay, so then you would just skirt around it, so to speak.
Either skirt around, or sometimes they say that you can do these things through written exercises. I recently spoke to a corporation where it was mostly Asian people there, and I said that you can do is writing it down and give it to your partner, because it's very important information. You don't want to be doing something in the bedroom that your partner hates.
Right.
And they found that, I could do that.
Right. Good. So I see in your some of your highlights here how to double the love in your relationship in 1 minute a day. So I'm going to time you. I'm going to wait till it goes to the 32 mark and give you 1 minute to double the love in my life. Ready? Go.
Okay. Well, the number one predictor of how happy a relationship is the number of appreciations couples give to each other. So I'm going to give you an appreciation, Dr. Marissa. Something I notice about you that I appreciate is that you have a really excellent sense of humor and you're really transparent. There's no hidden agenda. You're you. And I really love that. And it's fun to do an interview with somebody like that. So that hopefully you feel that appreciation. And, I give one appreciation to my wife every single day. And she feels like I'm very appreciative. In reality, I have Siri on my iPhone remind me to do this because sometimes I forget.
Well, thank you for coming clean on the show. And what's her name? I'll call her. No.
Yeah, don't tell her. Don't tell her.
Well, she's going to see it. I'm sorry. We have a little deal going on in the back that you didn't know about. So, okay. So appreciation. And that is, I can totally, absolutely validate that. Thank you for the compliment. And my compliment to you is obviously you're doing something right to get on Oprah 3 times. And the advice that you've given me actually doesn't sound too manipulated. And I do feel a genuine sense of caring. You don't look like you look like you have caring bones in your entire body. So that's a compliment to you. You're not my typical full of themselves. I shouldn't say that. I don't have typical full of themselves on the show. Oh my God, did I just say that? But no, you seem very, very genuine and caring. So there's my appreciation back. And I can
notice Notice I didn't even say I need a compliment back, but when you give somebody something, they tend to give it back. And that's how.
Well, that's my Jewish Chinese guilt. So I wouldn't say that that was necessarily a good incentive. But I do absolutely agree with you. In fact, with my children, people say my kids are in beautiful, fabulous inside out, and I attribute it to one thing that I've done right the entire time they have grown up with me, and that is every morning on the way to school, we would do a 3 gratitude exercise about what I'm grateful for in general. And we did it this morning, and today is the last day I am chauffeuring them to school in the history of the era of momhood. So it's kind of like, I think I get applause for that. So, and we did the gratitude exercise. But what really made the difference from switching, about 2 years into the exercise, I added appreciation. And I would have them say one thing they appreciate about them, their sister, their mom, and themselves. And every kid that I carpooled and was like not happy and then really happy and look forward to that exercise with me. Yeah. So I'm so grateful, and you're preaching to the choir. I think appreciation will get you quickly into the bed and quickly into a fabulous relationship. And with that, I'm getting the signal for us to thank the show sponsors who make this show possible. If you'd like to be someone who's supporting this love-hearted and like-minded show, please do contact me. I will be right back with best-selling author on love and conflict, Jonathan Robinson, in 2 and 2. And remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out. You want to shift your sex drive into full throttle? This is Dr. Marissa, affectionately called the Asian Oprah, inviting you to tune into my monthly series called Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa, the new Asian Dr. Ruth, every last week of the month, determined to make pleasure a G-rated topic. Exclusively on UBN Radio every Tuesday at noon Pacific Standard Time, or www.ubnradio.com, or on the free app for a show about hope and happiness. Peace in and peace out. One in 4 Americans are currently on anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication, and many are still depressed and anxious and now have side effects on top of it. If you're ready to shovel out the shiitake of past pain and future fear and put it back as fertilizer to grow the beauty that you are, order Dr. Marissa's newest book, 8 Ways to Happiness, from wherever you are, August 7th. And after reading, you will never hate yourself the same way again. And applause. And we are back. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon here out of the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California, with UBN Radio TV Network, Universal Broadcasting Network, and then every Thursday at 7, Saturday at 6 on my syndicated CNBC NBC News radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, and FM 106.5, and everywhere that iHeartRadio is. And it is Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa. Somebody sing Marvin Gaye in the background. And this is because I'm determined to make pleasure a G-rated topic and not have people embarrassed to talk about it, because pleasure and intimacy and orgasms are a natural, beautiful gift of life. And today I have a fabulous guest. Just meeting him and getting to know him on the air and on camera. It is Jonathan Robinson, who's the best-selling author of several books, and his latest book is called More Love and Less Conflict, a communication playbook for couples. Jonathan Robinson, welcome back. And thank you for all of the great tips so far. Understanding empathy, owning your side of the street, taking some responsibility. which then manipulates the person nicely into owning their side of the street. What else can you offer as far as making things in the bedroom more spicy?
Well, I have a free download on my website, morelovelessconflict.com, called the 12 Questions of Instant Intimacy. And couples find that when they answer these questions, they feel very emotionally tied together. And that often leads to better sex in the bedroom. So people can go to the website and download that for free. An example of one of those questions might be, what gives you your greatest sense of joy? Or what's one of the things that you liked about me when you first met me? Those types of questions. And, when you have a really good connection conversation with somebody, I like to say that good conversation is the best foreplay. And you want to be able to consistently get to that place with your lover, or even with your kids or your friends, that you can know how to get a little bit below the surface and not let these things, these widgets of mass distraction, I call them, keep you in a superficial level of conversation. Got
it. So put the phone down is definitely one of those. Maybe turn the TV off. Yes.
Yes.
Turn the porn off or not. When is it ever too late to come back to that conversation? I'm just reading now. It wasn't 2 weeks into Donald Trump's presidency that the first casualty hit the initial news report of a married couple splitting over Trump politics. Let's say you're a couple who has decided that you just can't come to the middle and see eye to eye on this. Is it ever too late to come back and try to recommunicate? And how would you do that? So if any one of my listeners are listening and they kind of gave up, but are feeling a little hopeful now that they're listening to this, how would they start with that?
It's never too late. I have couples who have argued 20 hours a week for 30 years on a subject. And sometimes in a matter of 5 minutes, they can get back to a place of love. So it's really a matter of whether you have certain skills. Blame never works. I'm batting 0 for 1,000. I'm blaming my partner and her liking that.
Right.
But some things work really, really well. Anytime I can acknowledge her feelings, we start to get into a back and forth real communication, because understanding is like a magical pill that opens up the love and opens up the intimacy. If you look at the word intimacy, the instructions for finding it are in the word. Yes. Into me see.
I love that.
And when you reveal yourself vulnerably, that opens up the energy so that your partner will do the same. And soon you're not feeling that separation.
How many couples would you say are warding off or kind of holding off intimacy because of a past broken-hearted relationship? And how would you work past that?
A huge number. I don't know the percentage, but probably more than half. We've all been hurt.
Yeah.
So it's always a little bit of taking a small risk to reveal yourself and see how that person responds. Like, for example, I have a technique that I like, which is just completing this sentence. If you really knew me, you would know blank. So if you really knew me, Dr. Marissa, you'd know that I'm always a little worried about coming off as a salesman, because I feel really passionately about this stuff, but I don't like salespeople. So if you really knew me, you'd know that I'm always thinking, is this too salesy or something?
Yeah. Okay.
So when I share that, it opens up for you to also reveal something.
Okay. I'll bite.
Okay. Good.
Jonathan, if you really knew me, you would know that I'm actually very shy. Okay, sorry. That's like way too out there. That's not possible. But if you really knew me, you would know that I actually don't like promoting myself, that I can't wait for the day that I don't have to say, This is what I do. Like me, follow me, give me the finger at Dr. Marissa. You know, I would love the day when I don't have to do that. But I do know that, like you, I have something that I know that I'm supposed to communicate on in my life. That's my purpose, and I'm passionate about it. And I know that more people can be happy and in pleasure and in love and peace and joy than actually are now. And so my job is to not only produce the materials, but to communicate the materials. And so I do it, even though I don't really like doing it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I already feel closer to you. That shows, you know, that's the method that we need, not just by doing likes on Facebook. 1,000 Facebook friends doesn't equal one really good friend.
Right.
You know, so we need to get better at these skills. And really the good news is that most people don't know any of these skills.
Yeah.
I say it's good news because when they learn them, they're amazed at how much more love and how much less conflict they end up having in their life.
Okay. And then I'm going to do a little commercial for you, because I don't know how many of you, what you don't know about me is, well, you do know, because the title of my show is Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. But the level of work, I used to be a real big proponent of, you know, if it's too difficult, just walk away. You know, it's really not worth all the, you know, how much work is too much work in a relationship. This kind of work that you're proposing is, I would say, this much work for this much gain. So we're not talking about this much work for this much gain, right? We're talking about, I was out of camera. So we're talking about really this much work, because it's not, I mean, you really do care about the person, right?
Yeah.
So you're supposed to be able to share. So running too fast, if you're anything like me, and saying this is too much and I'm out of here, that has its drawbacks. And I'm gonna make a commitment to try to be more, use some of your tools and see what happens with my relationships.
Yeah, you know, part of my success is due to my laziness. If something takes more than 2 minutes, I probably won't do it. So most of the tools almost all of them take under 2 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
If that leads to more love, then great. You know, if you have to talk about something for an hour over and over, I'm out of there.
Yeah. I just have to find somebody to hold hands with for 2 minutes when I'm mad. Well, beautiful. So the last question that I always ask my guests is, who or what are you most grateful for?
Well, I'll give you a quick story. A friend of mine got back from India and told that he was given a mantra for feeling overwhelming gratitude. So I went to India to this guru to find out what that mantra was. Finally get there, and he says, the guru says in his Indian accent, whenever possible, repeat the following words. The mantra I give you are the words, thank you. Now, I had traveled 18,000 miles to get there. So I said, that's it? I traveled 18,000 miles to get thank you? That's it? He says, no, that's it is a mantra you have been using. And my mantra is thank you, not that's it. That's it will take you nowhere.
Very good. I like that.
So every day I say thank you from my heart for my wife, for my dogs, for my health. And that helps me attune into gratitude. So I'm grateful for that little mantra that has really added a lot of gratitude in my life.
It was worth the 18,000.
18,000 miles, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for gracing my studio with some really fabulous tips on how to have some serious sexual healing in the bedroom and out. Between anyone that you're having a relationship with. And I wish you the best. Please do visit him, not just for the Asian Oprah giveaway of the download of the 12 questions that lead to instant intimacy with anyone That should come with an asterisk. But your website is morelovelessconflict.com. Morelovelessconflict.com. Pick up his book. Use it as a little communication Bible for you in the bedroom and out. And I do wish you the very best in everything,
Same to you, Dr.
Jonathan.
Marissa. Thank you for a great interview.
Thank you. Peace in and peace out. All righty. And now it's time to welcome you to my balance bar, where I invite you to do a little more balance so you can be happy 88% of the time and let you know what's going on and how you can join me. So every week from now until August the 7th, I am giving you a free balance tool that is from my upcoming book, 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. It's a self-help on steroids book and a cross between I'm okay, you're still okay, and don't sweat the small stuff and the big stuff. So today's balance tool is appropriately out of chapter 4, out of heartbreak into love. And here's step 1 on how to check out of Heartbreak Hotel. Stop believing and acting like we have to find someone, just one, to complete us. We can blame Jerry Maguire or all of the movies and bedtime stories and fairy tales that insist that there's something missing unless you have a partner. Now, before you accuse me of being happily divorced and advocating being single, I am not. But hear me out. What sounds better to you? To have people coming together to make a whole so that if one person leaves, you're only half a person and then damaged? Or is it possible that as a whole person, you can be wholesome and whole more and complete and happy with your own company 88% of the time? You enjoy your own company when you're alone, and then when you're attracted to someone, choose to be with another wholesome and whole more and complete romantic partner that you're happy 88% of the time with. Then regardless or not, if they're present or not, you're 88% happy plus in the relationship with yourself and with them. Take a breath. What a concept. And that's it. And I can't wait for you to get the book. Do not pre-order. I found out that if you help me buy between August 7th and August 14th, the first week of release, you can put me on the New York Times bestseller list. So it's just 9,000 books. And I'm like Alice in Wonderland. I believe in 6 impossible things before breakfast. But I really do. It's 8% ego and 92%. I really do believe that this book is going to help that 1 in 4 Americans really find an inside-out way to be happy without the side effects. So, and if you're a listener or a love streamer from Denver, I just got accepted to do a book signing at the Tattered Covers bookstore. Huge bookstore, usually only accept rock stars. So I'm grateful that I got invited to do that. I would love to see you. Please email me and then I'll let you know the time and date of that book signing so I can meet you in person. Also, as you heard in the promo, the round 85 of the 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian female Dr. Phil, starts. So register at the number 4balance.org so you can get a prize if you do 21 consecutive days without complaining. And next week, my guest will be Karen Mills Alston. She's on the Agape International Spiritual Center Board of Directors, a friend of mine, and a new author of 10 Principles for a Life Worth Living. So tune in to see if you're getting the most out of your life. And just to tell you, I am going to try to broadcast from Europe. I've just been invited to keynote at this amazing event, the International Summit of the Women of Global Change under the helm of Shelley Hunt, who gave me a wonderful invitation. So I will be in Europe a little longer than I thought I was going to be, but thanks to syndication and pre-recording, I am here with you. But keep an eye out, keep an ear out, and maybe I'll be broadcasting from France, Spain, and Italy. And I'm just so grateful for all of you. Keep it tuned to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa Pay. That's P for positive, EI. Remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out.
learned to cry at an early age. People around me, my heart in a cage. Life was a book, don't turn a page. I couldn't see past my rage. I went